Alright guys, the time is now for a showdown between the High Elves, who are going to be led by Benedict Cucumber Patch, and the Warriors of Chaos, who are going to be led by ARCHAON, the Sometimes Chosen. So without further ado, let's jump right into this match and have some fun. So here in the front line, I do have a couple groups of Spearmen, 3 in total. They're basically just there to use their high melee defense to take the charge of Chaos Warriors and Marauders, and then once they do take the initial charge, we can then follow up with our Swordmasters of Hoeth. So one of the things about the High Elves, they have pretty good stat lines. If you look at their infantry, for example, 48, 48, 36. I think Chosen are like with great weapons are 44 and 44. Granted, the high combat stats of the High Elf units are contingent upon their martial prowess. So when their hit points are above 50%, they're getting 12 extra melee defense and 2 melee attack, which is very solid. But if they are taking a huge, like, kind of blunt force in the, the front line, for example, so if they're running into chariots or the Chaos Infantry get a really good charge, they're not going to have that martial prowess for as long. As such, I don't really mind sending the Spearmen into the front line to take that charge, and then following up the Swordmasters and kind of layering on top, which means they don't take that charge. They have their martial prowess for a little bit longer. Definitely a very solid situation. So we have 2 groups of those, one here and one on the other side. We have 2 bolt throwers, which I do like quite a bit against Chaos. Are really good at focusing down, big targets. So if they have Dragon Ogre Shaggoths or Chaos Knights or things like that. But more importantly, the Hell Cannons are actually quite good against the High Elves. And 1 or 2 Eagle Claw bolt throwers, I think 2 is probably a little bit better, but they can actually hard counter the Hell Cannon, pretty much just pick it apart, because these things are very good at killing enemy artillery. So we have 2 of those. Each is going to be protected by some spears. We got Teclis, so we're going back, not going to be using Alariel. I actually really like Teclis quite a bit. I think he's solid. He gives you nets of Amnitok, Regrowth, as well as Enfeebling Foe, which are all very good in the Chaos matchup. He's going to be joined by 2 Nobles. Nobles are anti-large, armor-piercing, very good against Shaggoths, enemy lords. They give you good stopping power. So for example, if a big Chaos monster or like a dragon is running amok in your front line, these guys can just get in there and go fisticuffs. They have really good combat stats, definitely very, very solid units. We also have the Everqueen's Court Guard, the Regiment of Renown of the Sisters of Averlorn, also quite good against Chaos, good armor piercing, definitely doing the trick here. And that's pretty much it. I do have Silver Helms as well, and the Silver Helms are just there as a defensive unit. So they're going to be in the backline to chase hounds. If enemy knights or units get in there, I'm just going to kind of use them as a sponge. They're not going to be like doing a ton of damage, but they're not a terrible unit. For my opponent's army, he does have ARCHAON, the Sometimes Chosen. Definitely not a bad choice, but it looks like, well, ARCHAON, I guess, isn't bad in the High Elf matchup, because High Elves do bring a lot of, like, spears and stuff, so the Burning Skull can be really good at just mulching through those troops. I still think that probably, well, Kolek's a little bit of a risky pick here, I guess. I think Sarthoriel, the Ever-Chosen, or Sarthoriel, the Ever-Watcher is probably going to be the more competitive pick here, but ARCHAON can be okay for sure, especially if he can get his paws on Teclis, and he can do really good damage against the Nobles. I mean, he has good stats. But my opponent falling back into the forest, trying to obviously mitigate some of the damage from my bolt throwers, forcing me forward. Maybe he didn't want to, like, fight in this, like, choke here, so he's trying to force the battle up here into the open field, which I think what was happening here. He does have an Exalted Hero as well as ARCHAON for his kind of leadership cadre there. He does have Chaos Warriors with great weapons, a very solid pick. He's got a couple of Halberds as well on the flanks to deal with Cav, in case I went with like Dragon Princes. And in the back he has Chaos Knights with Lances, some Hounds, and I think that's it. No, he also has a Gorby's Chariot, which if left unimpeded, this thing can do a ton of work against my Swordmasters. So definitely has some pretty cool stuff. So anyways, I'm advancing forward. Unfortunately, I don't really have much of a choice. I do have to scoot up my bolt throwers and everything, which I'm kind of fine with. I have the ranged advantage. I have the Everqueen's Court Guards. I have the bolt throwers. So I'm just going to play a relatively patient game and scoot forward here. Right now, what my opponent's doing, he's trying to waste my ammunition. So it's a pretty good tactic, although it's a little bit risky with ARCHAON or factions that can't really heal. So basically, he's just going to strafe, side to side. And the bolt throwers have a little bit of trouble hitting a small target like ARCHAON. So he's just trying to waste my ammunition. But I do have a trick up my sleeve. I do, of course, have Teclis, and Teclis does have the nets of Amnitok. So if he keeps trolling me, I can definitely get in there, net him down, and potentially do some good damage. So that's kind of what I'm thinking I'm going to do here. So right now, he's just trying to waste my ammunition with the Sisters and everyone else. And the bolt throwers, I switch onto some of the Chariots, but he just runs up into the trees. But I get a net on ARCHAON. It's going to probably allow me to get 1 decent charge. So I pull back Teclis because I don't want him getting hit by ARCHAON. And I charge him with the 2 Nobles. So the Nobles coming in, they're going to get a great shot. The Sisters of Averlorn, now that he's a stationary target, are going to just unleash on him. So he does some good damage. He does pull in his Exalted Hero, but that was 100% worth it. He popped all of his items, expecting a prolonged fight. So I got his items. I got him to, pop his full chub here. Now we have a bit of a pit fight. It's going to be scary. ARCHAON doing massive just damage with that Slayer of Kings against my Noble. Literally chunking like 25-30% of his HP. And he also gets a Burning Skull in my backline. So really good play for my opponent here, retaliating despite a bad situation. It also goes down some of my Swordmasters, but it doesn't do much against armor. So I think I still came out a little bit ahead there. I was able to get ARCHAON's cooldowns. I got him to half HP, as well as the Exalted Hero, who took quite a bit of damage in that skirmish. He did do good damage to my Noble, as well as that Burning Skull, which did some okay damage as well. But nonetheless, I do have healing, right? I have regrowth, so I can definitely get away a little bit better there. So just kind of shooting at ARCHAON, doing some damage with the sisters, trying to force him back. In the meantime, it looks like he's coming up and around the far side with the hounds as well as the chariots, maybe looking to collapse in the back of my line. But that's what the silver helms are there for. They're not there to like win fights. They're there to deal with chariots as well as kind of fend off things like chariot or hounds. Excuse me, I don't know. My brain's all over the place. Anyways, the troops here in the front line, the spearmen are kind of braced and waiting. My bolt throwers are just taking pot shots in, shooting at some of the Chaos Knights as well as ARCHAON, who is now hiding up in the trees. A little bit low on ammo. I guess I'm at about 60%, give or take, on the bolt throwers. You can see they have 17 shots left, or 17 volleys, depending on what you do. And the Exalted Hero is going to be leading the main formation here. Definitely a pretty scary Chaos Force, but the Swordmasters of Hoeth can definitely outclass Chaos Warriors. I will take some damage, but hopefully with the supporting elements I have in the back line and the spears taking the charge, I can do the trick. So just falling back a little bit right now, trying to get a better position because I didn't want to be overextended. I wanted my forces to be a little bit tighter so I could fall back and defend my bolt throwers if I have to. And we're going to be trying to get the Spearmen on the Marauders, which will hold for quite some time. Marauders might eventually be able to get through them, but we want to get the Swordmasters on the Chaos Warriors with Grey Open. So he's definitely taking his time getting these Lances, the Chaos Knights with Lances, as well as the Hounds up in the forest here. The Chariot being very, very careful. He doesn't want to take any free bolt thrower fire, and ARCHAON, the sometimes chosen, is lurking in the shadows here. So now the first fight's underway. They will be sending the Spearmen into the infantry. There's no point in not charging them because, none of these troops are large, right? So you might as well get that charge bonus. Swordmasters of Hoeth are going to be weaving through the formation, which is what I want. I want the Spearmen to take that damage, and then I want to follow up with the Swordmasters of Hoeth. Definitely going pretty well for those guys. You can see we're doing some really good damage to the Marauders. ARCHAON is popping in as well. Another Burning Skull down my formation. I did try and dodge it, but I couldn't get away quick enough. So I do use a regrowth, actually, on the Everqueen Scorecard. Definitely a high-value unit. So ARCHAON charges in, going a little bit balls deep here. I do pop the Potion of Koroi, realizing that he's trying to snipe me out. And the two nobles are going to be trying to fight ARCHAON, but he's definitely quite a force to be reckoned with in melee combat. The bolt throwers are sitting at the, they're not sitting on anything. They're shooting at the Chaos Knights over here. And the Silver Helms are just going to be very conservative defending. Sisters of Avalorn shooting into the flank against these Chaos Warriors. The Swordmasters have gotten a great engagement with the Halberds, which is going to be super one-sided. The Halberds are going to get massacred by Swordmasters of Hoeth. Chosen with great weapons can beat the Swordmasters, but aside from that, like very few infantry in the game. I think Blades of the Blood Queen can obviously beat Swordmasters, but yeah, they're quite a force to be reckoned with, especially if they don't take that initial charge. So they're going to be chopping up these halberds in a moment. I think they did take some damage earlier from some spells, so that's why they're a little bit tattered. But we do have a fight here. ARCHAON and his Exalted Hero trying to charge in against my Noble and Teclis. I definitely have the advantage in regards to combat initiation because I do have the nets of Amnitok. So whenever he overextends a little bit, like right here, you can see just a slight mistake. I could potentially net him down and countercharge, but I think it was on cooldown. So his chariots were coming in. So anytime you're facing off against chariots, this is going to make your game so much better. Just mirror the chariots with your cav units, and when they charge in, you countercharge them with your own cav, and it's going to block them up. So you see that the chariots try to come in, the Silver Helms just block them up. My Swordmasters barely took any damage. It's definitely one of the better ways to deal with that, like whether it be Tomb Kings or Chaos or anyone. We didn't do a ton of damage, but we stopped that chariot charge from just shrekking my Swordmasters here. In the meantime, the Everqueen Scorecard's getting some good pot shots in the back against these Gorby's chariots. Another Burning Skull going down. Very good stuff for my opponent. ARCHAONs have been very, very busy with this, and you can see that's such a cool looking animation. But it gets in there and does some pretty solid damage against the Everqueen Scorecards. Nonetheless, the regrowths have been keeping them relatively topped off. And the Hounds, in the back, he's trying to get the Hounds in. I did have my Spearmen kind of form ranks to block them. The Chaos Knights are coming in as well, so this is a bit dangerous because my guys are occupied by the Hounds. He could certainly swoop up and around. But I do switch the Everqueen Scorecards back here, and I start taking some pot shots. Teclis coming in as well with his Nobles, hunting ARCHAON at the moment, but we're going to be getting a net of Amnitok, so he moves around me here, potentially getting a charge or collapsing into the Everqueen Scorecard. So I had a choice here. I had to use my Silver Helms to stop the Hound, so I do that. I use a net of Amnitok over here on the Chaos Knights with Lances, because there's a big open pocket, right? He could just charge in here and punch me, which he was looking to do, right? Did I use the net? Maybe I didn't use the net. I guess I just intercept him. I could have sworn, but I guess memory does not serve me well. So we do charge in there against Chaos Knights. We intercept. We do some good damage. The Everqueen Scorecards definitely taking a bit of work, but they're beasts. They have 63 melee defense, so they're able to hold quite well. Chariots, unfortunately, do get into the cookie jar. They're in the back line, causing some problems. But nonetheless, the Chaos Knights are taking a lot of damage from the Nobles and the Spears. ARCHAON does get a full erect charge right here on Teclis, which is pretty dangerous. So every time ARCHAON catches me, I use the Potion of Koroi for 44% ward save, and then I just basically try and run away from him. So the Noble's going to peel off and attack ARCHAON. ARCHAON could probably still beat the Noble, but I do have a regrowth on him for the physical ward save, and then I also charge in my other Noble to kind of pin him down. Into the backline, we secured both of our bolt throwers. They're just taking pot shots at the Chaos Knights with Lances, who are pretty much broken off. Now I can collapse everything inward as long as I can keep Teclis alive. Looks like another Burning Skull coming down the formation. So it definitely rose some Everqueen Scorecards. Does a little bit of topical damage to the Silver Helms, but nothing to write home about. In the front line, the Swordmasters of Hoeth have barely taken any damage. They're up to 89 kills. So layering them with the Spearmen was definitely very, very cost effective. They're going to be chopping up some skulls for sure. And Archaon's going to be fleeing, but my noble who's chasing him is very tattered, has 683 HP, and we do use a Nets of Amnitalk on the Chaos Knights when they try and charge my open bolt thrower back here. We countercharge them with the Silver Helms. Now, Silver Helms, a far inferior cav unit, but they should be able to beat up these Chaos Knights who are netted. They got their charge bonus of 60, whereas the Chaos Knights didn't, and the Arlantis. So the Sisters of Avalorn are also back online, providing some Overwatch fire against the Chaos Knights. Quite happy about that. And just using our high mass units to stop the Chariot play. So there's a lot of opportunities for these Chariots to strike, but every time they do, I try to retort with something and, slow them down with my my nobles, and, knights and things like that. But anyways, Archaon's coming in with the steel chair. He's going to be leaping in, and I think he's going to be decapitating this noble, and he does. So Archaon coming in, taking out that noble in a very thematic shot right there. He knows he's probably not going to win this battle here. He's going to go in balls deep and try and take out one of the nobles, which is pretty cool, and he does. So I popped the Potion of Croy again. My nobles are going to be piling in on Archaon. I got the bolt thrower shooting him. I got the sisters shooting him, laying everything I can into the Lord of the End Times here. And the Silver Helms are able to beat those Chaos Knights there. And you can see the bolts hitting Archaon, definitely doing some good work. So I'm trying to put some moves on him, taking a little bit of damage, but the bolt throw Overwatch and, the fact that my Sword Masters were able to clean up the front line is going to be all she wrote for Chaos. So well played to my opponent. It was definitely a very fun back and forth game. A lot of kind of cat and mouse in the beginning with the Nets and Archaon and the Exalted Hero. It was definitely very, very fun. But I like the build quite a bit. The Silver Helms, I think, are one of the unsung heroes, I guess you could say. They did a pretty good job protecting the back line. They countercharged the Chariots. There was actually a couple instances in which they shut down the Chariot charges, which was very solid. But Sword Masters layered on top of Spears, definitely pretty effective. You're getting high melee defense and just kind of bodies to take the charge, which then allows you to pretty much have maybe 25-50% more of the martial prowess active. So I think that's quite strong. Nobles and Teclis are kind of a tried and true, very, very safe in a multitude of matchups. I think having Teclis with two Nobles gives you a lot of alpha striking power because you can net and go in with two anti-large armor-piercing units and do a lot of damage. So had he gone with Kolek, for example, they're really good against Kolek because he's a big target. You net him down, you bolt throw him, you shoot him with the Sisters. I think the Warp Chicken is the best bet for sure, especially against this. Because oftentimes Teclis is going to be running with his nobles, so you just pop a net of Final Transmutation and just do massive damage. And plus, he's really good at disrupting the front line, terror-outing high elf infantry. It can be pretty scary for sure. But it was pretty cool to see him use Archaon. He definitely made Archaon work in several instances, like decapitating that noble at the end, and there was a couple of really good burning skulls he had. So definitely some very solid play. So well played to my opponent, Mike. Not going to fall for that one. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this High Elf vs. Chaos game, and we will see you guys next time. Take care.